Back to vaccine application, I know one thing that is very common to see in many different areas, I think all over the world, is using vaccine by drinking water, IBV vaccine. So is drinking water vaccination an effective alternative for IB vaccination or for other respiratory live vaccine? Because you see many, especially for long-lived bird, they're applying during the laying period. And how long will the IB vaccine strain last? For example, Massachusetts type, in the drinkers, considering an average temperature of 27 degrees Celsius.
27 degrees Celsius is not beneficial for the vaccine. That does not say it's going to be. I've seen some work with some vaccines in which 27 degrees is not a problem for 2 hours, but on average, 27 degrees is not helping any IB strain to survive in the drinking water, or also in the spray water. 27 degrees on itself is not a positive thing. It has been shown under experimental conditions that drinking water vaccination of IB itself is able to give good protection. It is possible to vaccinate by drinking water. There is no doubt about that. However, giving a respiratory vaccine in you should, well, its natural environment is the respiratory tract. So the spray vaccination is a more natural way of applying an IB vaccine, because if it's in the respiratory tract, it can attach and it can start replicating, and that's induction of immunity. If you give it, let's say, in the gut, IB can replicate to some extent in the gut, depends on the strain, some more, some less, but it's not, let's say, the primary organ for IB vaccines. So a drinking water vaccination on itself of a respiratory vaccine, you lose quite a lot of virus because it's not in the right place or in the chick. It's often that if it still starts to replicate, it on average it's a delay, because it has to go to the respiratory tract anyway, but it's not given to the respiratory tract, so it has to it will cause a delay. You have more risk of rolling reactions. So let's say if it is possible to apply IB vaccine in a respiratory way, please do it. But I do know that there are houses in which spray vaccination is not possible, or hardly. Let's say if you have an open house, and well, if you spray in an open house and there is some wind, the vaccine is outside before it reaches your chickens. Yes. If you have an aviary in which the birds are in 7 layers, all running through each other, and 100,000 birds, and then spray application is not not that realistic. So, and under those conditions, if you know that the spray application is not really possible, then you might decide, okay, then if I do the water vaccination in a good way, and that's a lot of work, that might work better. But then the water quality has to be good. Well, that's already for a whole house to have a good water quality. That's the temperature, the application of the vaccine with low temperature. That is, the pipes have to be empty, or the water lines, it has to be clean. It's much more work than a good spray vaccination, I guess. But people underestimate it. They put it in a drinking water system for a few hours, and that's it.
It's a practical question. I think you might be aware of this. What happens sometimes, people in the face of an IB outbreak, and many times of ND outbreaks, there are several consultants there. They are recommending giving IB or ND vaccination on top. Have you seen this in Europe? What is your opinion on that? Because the bird is in the midst of an outbreak, they are recommending applying by drinking water or by spray vaccination with the disease. They have suspicions.
Look, if a bird is already infected by a field strain, you can add a vaccine for nothing. That's useless. If you would have an outbreak, let's say with Newcastle, and let's say maybe 20% of your birds is already infected, but 80% in your house is not yet infected, and you would be able to give let's say a very fast working vaccination method. Theoretically, eye drop, but maybe aerosol, very fine spray, very aggressive respiratory vaccination. You might be able to get the vaccine in part of your birds which are not yet infected. Well, if the vaccine is already starting to replicate, we know for some diseases, then it can help to lower the damage if they then are infected a number of days later. So let's say if you already have 20% mortality by Newcastle in your house, don't try a vaccination anymore. You're too late. But if you think, hey, it's just starting, I'm pretty sure it's Newcastle, let's put an aerosol on it right away. Don't try drinking water because that's too slow for a respiratory vaccine. Well, you might help the birds. Certainly the house next to it.
So for this point, it will be a really fine spray, aerosol.
Yes. The most aggressive, the most. And if you want to beat the field strain, which has in a house, which already has an advantage, it's there earlier. Well, the birds that are infected, you're too late. But the other ones, you have to be every hour counts. But then you have to use the most aggressive way you can use, and that's fine spray.
We have some vaccines in the poultry industry that over time started to be used via the in-ovo route.
Yeah.
And why do you think that is still not workable to have an in-ovo IBV vaccine?
Well, the present attenuated vaccines are safe for 1-day-old chicks, but not for 18-day-old embryos. You get too much mortality. So then you would you need an extremely attenuated IB strain, and if it's that much attenuated, efficacy goes down. So we don't have the strain that is suitable to do a good job in in-ovo.
All right. And do you think there is a technology, or we can come to a vaccine someday that we can use in in-ovo, or is nothing about this?
Well, there are quite some groups that are working on an IB GMO vaccine. Look, if it would have been easy, it would have been on the market already years ago, and it's still not. And there are some papers that show a certain level of efficacy after 2 times injections or after a very expensive vaccine, and you get partial protection against the homologous challenge.
Yeah.
So it could be that, well, at some point there will be vaccines for IB that can be used in-ovo.
Yeah.
But apparently it is very complicated. So whether it's going to take 5 years or 10 years or 15, I don't know, but it's a challenge.